I don't see other shops out here as competition in a way that there's way more glass than we have installers that can install, whether it's on cars or homes. Let's educate people to know that this is even an option. And now there's going to be more people searching Google for window tint.
Well, the big thing is that you grow the pie. If everyone's putting content out, all we're doing is informing more people, and now we're making the pool of people that actually are going to call us for work that much bigger, to where if we grow the pie by 10%, does it really matter how many shops are there, here and there? It doesn't matter at all. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Born To Tint podcast with the Miller Brothers. Excited for another episode. My big brother, Josh.
How's it going, everybody? Today we have a very special guest, Paul Bukosky with Xpel, local rep here in town that we've had the pleasure of knowing for the last year or so. Had a really fun conversation, talk about customer service and a bunch of different stuff about the industry. Check it out.
Is that it's elite small business shops that grow industries.
Yeah.
Then you get to the the corporate side and the corporate world, but you guys are the trends. You guys are the trendsetters. Whether that's through service, product, anything. You guys have such an overwhelming influence, right?
It's hard for me to wrap my head around that one, though, because
you're on the ground.
Yeah, it's just I see in the fact that I'll have people that'll stop by like that will be like, I follow the content online, thank you, and it's like, well, that's cool. Like I appreciate it, but when I hear like influence, though, I don't think I have that much. I'm not much of anybody.
You don't believe that you have tenure in the valley and you guys are the OGs? That's the word on the street. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
We got imposter syndrome, I think.
Who doesn't? I'm 59 and I still have it.
Yeah, it's because there's always something new every day, so we're still growing and learning, and kind of kept that mentality the whole time. So it's like I know there's things we can improve and learn on.
Right.
But ultimately, we've been doing it a long time, and we do get more and more people DMing us or contacting us, or even just being in town and they come by the shop, and that's always.
So how great is it that you guys put yourself in the position to do this and be more progressive than maybe some other people are even attempting to do, and while all the time killing it? Because I'll give you, there's a couple of people in town that do great social media, and you guys are one of them. Personally, the reason I think that is because you inform. You're not selling anything. You're informing, right? You're teaching.
Yeah.
And that's the best, in my humble opinion, older humble opinion. That's the best and only way to sell, is through informing and teaching and providing an insight.
Yeah, I when it comes down to it, I'm trying to sell myself. I'm trying to sell my company.
Yeah.
I'm trying to sell the fact that whatever product I am going to propose to you, that you are just at the point of, what's going to solve the problem?
Right.
We have our manufacturers that do stand behind us, that provide us with an ample amount of tools to go after jobs like energy audits and stuff like that. But still, when it comes down to it, I'm trying to portray, I just want to educate, and I'm trying to sell us, our image, our brand, when it comes down to it.
So Angie Audits, is that an extension of an Angie List?
What?
Angie Audits.
Maybe. Is it something new?
Well, you just mentioned the term Angie Audits.
What did I say?
I don't know. It might have been something that sounded close to that.
I heard Angie Audits.
No,
energy audits.
Thank you very
My
much.
bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was like,
All right.
okay.
I've already been
sense
told
now.
maybe once or twice by him.
Stop mumbling.
I need to slow down when I talk. So
No. I probably need to open this up more too. Yeah.
no energy audits. So just throwing an energy analysis on a building, to where if you are going after a large commercial building, that if you have the rooms to pull it off, to be able to put up a couple different samples, have a control room, put the sensors in there, run the data, and actually come back with all right, here, if you choose this film, you will, and then get your money back in this many years, and then past that, it's just energy savings. And then do that with you can do that with a couple, depending on what they're looking for. If they're looking for heat rejection, privacy, or whatever it be. Then you can put the couple different films out there and then just put the results in front of them. How fast, yes, this one costs twice as much, but you're going to get your money back twice as fast. And then beyond that, it's going to compound past. That's how much savings you have every single month past that. But it just depends what solution you're looking to go for.
So let me quickly catch up. Let me go to the personal side of things. update me on your kids and family, if you would.
Little boy's doing great. I'm pretty certain he's going to take after me in the fact that he wants the tint. I've been bringing him down to the shop, and now that we have the academy going up, there's a window that's going to be right in front of him. He's amped. He's super stoked. Every time I get to bring him down there, he's excited. But family's doing good.
How old again?
5.
Nice.
He'll be 6 in December. So he's in his first. He's in kindergarten right now, and he's doing really well.
God, I miss that. I miss those influential years.
Oh, I'm starting to realize that as it's passing so quick, I'm like, I'm gonna like this already feels fast as it's going. Like I'm gonna look back and be like, holy shit, that passed so fast.
Yeah,
It's a blink of an eye. I've got junior, 16, driving now.
Ooh, that's a whole other stress level.
Two 14-year-old freshmen, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and they're all doing great. It's definitely noticing how it just kind of goes by real fast.
So 5 altogether.
Yeah.
So I'm the youngest of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's especially this past week. Had to put our dog down, and it was pretty rough on the whole family. But going through and looking at like photos and stuff of all of them, being little kids when he's a puppy and stuff, and now they're like in high school, and like, oh crap.
It's funny how there's a parallel there, right? Pets and kids.
Yeah.
How old was your dog?
7. He was really young. It came out of nowhere. He had really bad pancreatic cancer. We thought we were taking him in because he ate one of the kids' toys or something. They opened him up to take whatever he had eaten out and realized that he had just like full-blown unsavable. So
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was rough. But it made me think of how quick the kids are growing up, because I'm looking at all the photos and videos and stuff of them.
I saw a picture of Brooke. It makes no sense.
Yeah, like I didn't realize they were like little kids when we got them, and now they're like almost little adults.
Yeah. What kind of dog?
German Shorthair Pointer. So it's like big part of my like change and growing and improving and the whole growth mindset thing we talk about here was I got that dog as like a little bit of a life hack to get myself back into running. That's why I got that type of dog, is they have to run, and
have to.
He was definitely our little running buddy. So my older daughter would always come out with us on trail runs and stuff, and she's right now like ranked 2nd in the state for the 1600. She took 4th last year.
Yay.
And
congrats.
She's doing really good at cross country too. And so typically Sundays we're like trail runs with her and him. And so, yeah.
How many miles is a typical?
Typically
Sunday
we're doing
run?
about 10 miles on a Sunday trail run. But
What is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
My daughter does this.
Yeah.
And she runs half marathons and full marathons.
Yeah.
And she trains. She has to run every day.
Yeah.
Every day she runs.
You feel so much better after you get up in the morning and get a run in. You feel so much better all day long.
I've been lax the past probably about 2 months. I've been training here and there, but nothing actually regimented. And I know I can tell it's messing with me. Like I need it. Like I ran this morning. I got to get back on and actually after I get about a week back into it, I'm back. I'm good. But getting back on the horse again and getting after it. But after that week, I know I'm going to feel like I was just running this morning. I feel so much better.
I guess it's the same when you physically work out. I mean, when you work out with weights or resistance or anything like that, which I used to do a lot of, and I don't much anymore. But I remember how that would feel. And it's like, this has to be part of my day. And that happens after 3 or 4 weeks. Yep. You get that adrenaline going. You're used to that, hitting the brain. And when that happens, it's easier after that.
Yeah, you just got to get in that routine, the habit. Like I said, that was like kind of my little bit of a life hack. Was like, all right, my wife was hounding me. She wanted a dog, and it's like, well, I got to get one that I have to run. And then because my focus was on making sure I got him out, then it got me in a better routine of it, and then it's just kind of stuck.
You are in luck.
Yeah,
you're in luck.
Yeah,
because we have a large Chihuahua that's crossed with an Australian Shepherd. 24 pounds. She needs running.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime you want to borrow her, I'll drop her off for a month or a year, whatever it is.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get another dog soon enough. Especially because that was the real big bummer for me, is like the little ones. My 5-year-old wants to run now, and he was starting to ask me like, can I go run on the trail with you? And it's like, planned on like, okay, well, you'll come running with us soon enough. But it was definitely, I don't know, it was good times. My older one definitely got a passion for it, running on the trail, and that was our like weekend thing. So she right now she's killing it. My freshman daughter is running cross country this year too, and she's killing it also. She's just like a little super athlete. We kind of talked her into it. She didn't want to do it. She's playing softball, and they just had they have a big meet every year, the Bud O'Day freshman sophomore race. So they have just a freshman group and then just a sophomore group that runs it. And she took second in Southern Nevada for the freshman group. So
good for her.
Yeah, she killed it.
Good for her.
She killed it. So
does she know? Does she know what she's doing? Does she know when she places second?
Oh yeah.
What that means?
Yeah, I mean, and the girl that she beat that was right behind her that took third, in all the other races they've been in this year has been like a minute ahead of her, and the girl that she was 8 seconds behind has been like over a minute ahead of her. So she just had like a crazy. So their team should make state. They got regionals not this Friday but next Friday, and then state is the Friday after that, and they're both in Boulder City. So that'll be cool.
I think that's the greatest thing, personally speaking, about having kids is it's not about reliving your youth and through them on a field or court or anything like that. It's about watching them develop and ultimately succeeding for whatever that looks like, whatever lens that is. Yeah. You know, it doesn't have to be number one. It can be number 5. It can be number 10, whatever it is. But to watch them progress to that level and see them overcome a fear or fears or inability, lack of coordination. And nobody has coordination out of the womb.
Yeah.
You know, you have to develop that. You have to develop endurance to run. You have to develop endurance to live life and to not be afraid to progress daily.
That's the thing I really love about running for everybody out there. Like there'll be meets where, you know, you finish 10th, 15th, 20th, whatever, but that kid finishing, you know, even sometimes towards the back of the pack, runs a PR, and they're celebrating just as much as the person that took first because that was the fastest they've ever run that distance. So it's like you don't have to win the race to still have a bunch of people out there winning the race. So, and everybody's out there supporting each other, and it's just like...
That's probably the best thing about running, though. Because when it comes down to you have the people that obviously are taking the top spots, but at the same time, if you had a good race, you just PR'd, you PR'd that race, you just set your own personal record.
Or even finished a distance you've never done before. Like there's so many wins out there, and those are lifelong lessons, I think, that everybody walks away with. And how much time and work did you put in? And when you've put in the time and work and you do have success, you know, you can apply that to the rest of your life, whether it's business, whatever. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be running any sport. You know, we grew up doing baseball, and same thing. Like you start playing t-ball and you don't even know which direction to run the bases. No. And then a couple years later, you're mad because you struck out and you didn't hit a home run, and it's like at first you couldn't even hit the ball.
Yeah. So for me, it was basketball, basketball first, and then I had the pleasure of coaching inner city for 20 years, primarily for my kids. You know, I wanted to be on the court and I wanted to see them achieve. And so I was able to do that with them for the better of 18, 20 years. But more recently, my wife and I, when we get to take a few days off together, and my wife also works, and my daughter's having a running event somewhere on the West Coast. We go and drive there, and we get to see her run. And about a year and a half ago, she ran in the Sacramento marathon. And you know where she's going to be. You know, you have the map of the course, and so we try to stay ahead of her when we can figure out how to work our GPS. That's a challenge in itself sometimes. Being in a brand new city, right? You're not sure where there's a light, where there's not, whatever. But we go to mile marker 20, right? So she has 6 more miles, and everybody's coming in. And to your point, everybody's yoo-hoo, you know, everybody go. And she gives us thumbs up, and she's yay. And come to find out, when we got home that night, she goes, "I think I fractured my foot at mile marker 20." And I go, "Didn't it hurt?" She goes, "No, it still doesn't really hurt, but it's big as heck." And sure, the next day we had to take her to the airport from Sacramento to fly over the pond to Europe and work. So she's in an airplane for 13 hours, and what happens then? It just gets huge.
Yeah.
But she still worked. The next day, after arriving there, she still works through it, and she comes back, "Yep, you fractured your foot." So she had to take a few weeks off. But that's the kind of drive, persistence, intentionality that you get from doing what you guys do. And I applaud that.
I would say all of those reasons are the reasons why that I think I've been drawn towards it.
Yeah.
Because that's helped transfer into business for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then even beyond that, before even the business side of it, just the installing side too, being more efficient when I install.
Do you think it makes your mind sharper? I mean, are you firing on all cylinders because of that workout,
Oh yeah.
that discipline of working
Oh,
out?
absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree with
I saw an Instagram reel this morning that I almost shared, and then I decided not to. But it was Pierce Morgan with Chris Williamson from what's his podcast?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's called.
but the guy, he was asking him like, what's more important, physical health or mental health? And his answer to Pierce Morgan was physical health. And Pierce Morgan was like, I don't know, I think mental health is more important. And Chris basically said, well, yeah, but without the physical health, like your mental health is part of your physical health. So if you're not
Amen.
if you're not physically fit, your mental health can't be at its maximum capacity. And I know for a fact when I'm on my game, I'm eating healthy, I'm sleeping right, and I'm exercising regularly, especially in the morning. I'm a more efficient person. I get more done. I'm happier. I'm a better dad. I'm a better worker. I'm a better leader. Everything about me is better if I'm actually in a routine where I'm exercising. You could do all those things without doing that, but for me, I know for a fact I'm performing better if I've gotten a run in.
Do you guys sleep through the night?
I usually get about once.
Yeah, for the most part. Especially
jealous. I'm so
if Sunday going a long run, yeah, I'm not waking up that night. I'm sleep, and I'm probably gonna fall asleep early without even trying to.
Well, my problem is I drink too much water leading up to going to bed, and every time I wake up, it's 'cause I take a piss real quick, and then I lay back down. I'm out.
I don't know what the hell it is, but when I reached a certain age, it was twice a night, maybe 3. I just can't sleep for more than 3 or 4 hours at a time, and it's not affecting me necessarily, but it's like, God. Then I'm aware that the dog has to be let out.
Yeah.
And then I do have to use the restroom, and then I do have to go see about this. Did I leave the garage door down?
Yeah.
Or up? All those things. Well, good to know. It's just not an older man's syndrome.
No, at least probably once a night. Definitely.
Right
Yeah. So.
I've always been very fortunate that I fall asleep and I'm asleep. My wife actually complains about it. I'll fall asleep on the couch and they can't wake me up. So I'll wake up on the couch in the morning, she'll be like, you can't come to bed. Sorry.
I don't sleep that hard.
So off or on the record, I was in your neighborhood pretty much all last week. So we were setting up a dealership sublet, and the Skyline Casino is. We're just opposite that in an industrial park in a recon center. But yeah, I spent 3 days there. Not a bad. What is it, roast beef or something like that for $14.95.
Oh, so you're down over on Boulder Highway.
Yes, sir.
Oh, so you got
I mean, it's still a ways from you, but it's
Oh, it's
closer than I normally would get.
So across from the Skyline, what building is it in?
You're asking me to be too smart. No, it's. I don't,
Only because I know that. I know that's Boulder Highway just because we are right there. Driven up and down that damn road so many damn times.
the only reason I know it's there is because when I go out the gate, I'm looking at the Skyline Casino.
Oh, it's probably off of Water Street right there.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's go with that one.
So how's business been? Busy?
Business has been busy. Exiting summer, so that's the peak. But now as we go into fall, we talk about ceramic coatings and PPF, paint protective film. Not as much tint.
Yeah,
because the heat goes away. So now it's about the protection.
Smart. No, very smart.
And we got SEMA coming up. We have our XDC, which is in February, our dealer conference. That's exciting. That's in San Antonio. What's great about that is we always seem to release, and I'm not plugging here, but we always seem to release new product then. And it's quite disturbed because what I appreciate about what I do, getting into the customer service and the territory manager responsibilities, is I like learning new things and then being able to regurgitate them, or sometimes not quite as well, but being there for customers and seeing that progression. If there's a word of the day, I think it is progression. I'm driving down here on the 215, and I'm seeing all the new build on the highway. I'm seeing the Vegas Strip still go up and expand. It's a beautifully blue day, not a cloud in the sky. Temperatures are finally going to be below 80. And it's just progressing daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. It's a great thing. It's a great place to be. It makes me happy. Loving what I do. Being able to influence customers by what you guys do with yours, informing, teaching, showing them a way.
Yeah.
Not just being there to sell a widget. There's two types of selling, if we can just talk about this real quick in my perspective, because I've done both, pardon me. There's transactional selling, which is here's an item, how much do I owe you? That's transactional, right? That's a CVS or a Walgreens or a grocery store. You can still make that customer centric, but there's a time and a place in that environment. I was a store manager for one of those facilities or one of those businesses for a while, and it was when they were downsizing cashiers and all the internal labor. So often it was a cashier, myself, an assistant manager or supervisor, and that was it. I'd walk out, or you're doing whatever you do on the floor. You walk up, and all of a sudden there's a line of 11 people, and your cashier, who has tenure at doing what she does great at it. She knows everybody in the neighborhood. She's having a conversation with this person, and the line's getting longer. There's a point to this, I promise you. And I go up and I pull her aside and I go, hey, just so you're aware, you're giving great customer service to that one person you're speaking to. For the last 5 minutes, you're giving horrible customer service to the 11 people or 10 people after that person because they're looking at their clocks. They need to go catch a bus. We're on a bus line. They need to go get home to pick up their kids, whatever they need to do. Just be mindful of that. Or the second selling is relationship selling. So it's where nothing's going to happen magically necessarily right now. That widget may not move. But through being intentional, through being passionate, through just being present, you're building a relationship.
Yep.
And what happens when you build a relationship? You start developing and earning trust. So you're not selling a candy bar. You're trying to influence your business along with the person you're trying to build a relationships business with too.
Yep.
As well. So that's the stuff I really love, because it doesn't have to happen today as long as we continue talking. And we may be different in many ways, business-wise.
Yeah.
You may not believe in one thing we're doing. I may not believe in one thing you're doing. But as long as we have that conversation, something is bound to happen.
Yeah.
And then it becomes personal. And when it becomes personal and when you're building that relationship, I feel like your dad would know this, you've earned the ability to show grace.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to make this too corny or nothing, but I truly believe this in my heart. When you come to that point in a relationship, whether it be business, family, kids, wife, husband, whatever, when you show and have the ability to show grace, you can fail and it's okay.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever perfect, ever. I may tell you something that I misheard. I may tell you something that I didn't actually understand, but I want you to know now. But I said something incorrect. You, through the relationship we have, you're going to hopefully allow me some grace and say, that's all right, we understood, or don't worry about it, get me the information when you can, right?
Well, see, I've now gotten to the point where my reply to that's going to be, that was my fault. I didn't relay the information in a way that was the best way to portray it to you, to make you have to where we both were on the same page where we understood what needed to be done. Yeah. So that's how I look. That's the lens I look at it now. I used to not look at it through that lens. Yeah. Now I look at it as what did I do wrong? It's I need to take ownership of it. How can I improve to make sure the next go around that doesn't happen again?
Preach.
And then when it comes down to it, shit's gonna happen. I think that was the one thing we just got done talking with our dad. He kind of asked how was it, pretty much, I guess, short term, how is it running the show? And it's it's stressful, but at the same time, when I finally got to the point of realizing that I needed not try to do everything for my team, I needed to rely on my team to give them trust, let them operate. And yes, there's going to be mistakes. We're all in new positions when it came down to it. Now I'm in a position where I'm overseeing everything. And it's I can try to do everything and just do a shitty job of doing everything. Or I can try to help out the key people that I need to prop up and let them succeed. And as long as they're succeeding, I'm succeeding.
Right.
And they might mess something up. That's fine. It's going to happen. You don't have the experience until you actually are doing it. Now, if it's a repetitive same thing over and over and over again, Again, I'm still looking at that going, all right, I'm failing because I am not portraying the why behind this needs to be done this
Yes.
way or the reasoning for why that has to be done. So it still comes back down to me. I know.
Great points. Can we talk about why real quick?
Yeah.
The why?
Yeah.
So I was I worked in the painting industry for a while, and I tinted and then I sold. Colored paint is tinting. And I was, for a handful of years I was there, I worked in a contractor store. And working with contractors on a daily basis, I thought, okay, how can I take advantage of this time I have with these people, like installers in great shops that may or may not own their own companies, but I have contractors that own their companies, as well as coming in to support the people that own the companies. They're purchasing paint for in big volume. These guys know so much more about this than I'm going to pretend to know.
Yeah.
Let's take advantage of this and learn from these guys. So every day, I would open up the store at 5 o'clock. I'd show up at 4. My shift was until about 3:30. I'd start at picking brains, asking questions. I'd literally scan my store, my retail store, and I would say, I don't know about that. Hey, can you tell me about that? What do you know about this? And that's how I learned. And there was such a wealth of knowledge to me. I was so blessed to be in that environment the time I was. And it was always why. Why do you do it that way? Why do you do this at all? Why are you here? Why are you choosing us over the big bad monster down the street, capital S on their paint building? Why are you coming here to purchase?
Yeah.
And I learned so much doing that. But I got on my way many years ago, I think, because I stopped trying to be perfect. And when I stopped trying to be perfect and just realizing that, you know what, I don't have to always be 1,000% right.
Yeah.
I just have to keep going.
Yeah.
And I got to keep moving with this. I just can't fall behind.
Yeah.
And when I allowed myself that, I was so much more helpful to my customers. It wasn't about what I knew. It was about, what do you expect me to know? And if I don't know it now, I sure as heck will find out and get back to you.
Yeah.
That was really life-changing for me.
No, yeah, no. Getting out of my own way in the same type of way, in the fact of that. I mean, that's the one biggest thing, like for like the tin offs and stuff. Like that kind of actually sparked that with me, was the watching other people install and getting curious of, why'd you do it that way? And then hearing them, like, I mean, the worst one I have, it's the first time I did paint protection competition. I see all the guys rubbing the hoods down. I'm like, what are they doing? And the guy from Silvergar's like, they're clay barring the paint. I'm like, what's that? He's like, you serious? I'm like, yep. He goes, takes all the contamination. And he starts telling me, explaining the why it has to be done. I'm like, so you should do that every time before you install? He's like, yes. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I think I still competed just doing the way I did it, just because I didn't want to introduce something new. Because already competing, I was already out on a limb. And like in my mind, when I was competing then, it was just like, don't take last. That's what I was striving for. So don't take last. Didn't. And then like the first car that I got back at my shop, went and bought a clay barred the paint, installed, and I was like, wow, that went a lot faster. Like so much faster. I understand why you do this now.
Have you ever used a clay bar mint?
Yeah.
Yeah, love those. I love that to death. So back when I was really young, my brother used to race Fiats up in the Northwest rally race. And that's where I found my passion for cars in the industry, even though I took a time out raising a family, getting away from the industry. And he was always working on cars, pulling heads. He would come limping home after a rally on a weekend with my cousin who was navigating. And I fell in love with the smell of a shop, oil, gas, whatever it is. And back in the day, as far as I knew, I started detailing my cars as soon as I had them. So 16, he sold me the Fiat he sold me first, $1,000. He never would give me anything. He wanted me to earn it. And that was a good discipline for a 16-year-old kid, right? Yeah. Pride of ownership. I would detail the hell out of that thing. I would put in spark plug wires, different colors. I would paint manifold head. I would paint the heads. I'd do everything. And I love that little car, and with all its rust and everything. And the clay bars back then were literally like this size. So you literally, you can imagine how long that would take to.
Long, yeah.
At least that's the only size I was familiar with. And I would go to, then they weren't auto zones, but they were shucks or something like that up in the Northwest. And that's the only size I could find. It took forever to clay bar a car. That was my only point with that.
No, it's getting someone to understand the why is always the biggest holdup when it comes down to it. I've come to find out, like, if as long as you can portray the why, you usually get the problem solved.
So where are you guys doing this?
Why are we doing this, the podcast?
Yes.
Or big part is, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that have a bunch of synergy, but yeah, get the information out. And we've seen it in the last year, not only to the end consumer, but I feel like there's a huge gap in the industry of the end consumer being aware of all the products and solutions that we have for their problems, whether it's residential, commercial, paint protection. There's a lot of products that we offer, really good solutions for problems people are having that a lot of people don't know it exists. So just by having these conversations and talk about maybe a solar control project or something paint protection wise, we're putting out clips on social media, and we've gotten a huge influx of leads and consultation schedules from people that still had no clue that they could even put solar control film on their house or security film. And we're seeing the results from it. And then on top of that, we're launching the academy to teach the architectural tint to more installers out there that might already have, a foot in the water doing auto and are interested in adding that extra revenue stream to their business. And there's just not a lot of information out there for it.
No.
Most of the content being created industry-wide is automotive-centric. I mean, that's even how the end consumer looks at it. Most people, they hear the word window tint, they think of tinting a car.
That's right.
So it's like, how can we help grow the industry in that way? And selfishly, it's going to help us grow our business, which it has. I mean, I didn't expect to see the kind of results that we saw as quickly as we did. We're constantly trying to fix everything in the business. So we changed our marketing strategy, hired a different marketing agency, using the organic content we're creating from this to then turn that into ads. And we're seeing that happen for us. And it's like, okay, how can we help other shops out there, other people in the industry, utilize the knowledge that we've gained over the years? And it really is from a place of, like, we want to help people, whether it's end consumer, realize that we can help them save them some money on their energy bill, save their furniture from fading, all the different things that film does that people don't know about. But also, there's so many people in the industry struggling the way our parents did early on, that now the answers are out there and there's an easy way to share them, and there's a cool way that like everybody can learn faster and get there faster. And then that's one less person out there having a bad experience with somebody that strictly tints auto, that has somebody say, hey, I want to tint my house. They go out without the right information, put the wrong film on, break some windows, whatever the case may be. Now instead of having someone who's like blown away with how great the film was for their home and the experience they had, they're probably telling people not to do it. So it's like the negative that comes out of people not knowing what they're doing when they step into that realm is hurting everybody. So I don't see other shops out here as competition, not in like an egocentric way.
God, good for you.
As in a way that there's way more glass than we have installers that can install, whether it's on cars or homes. Let's educate people to know that this is even an option. And now there's going to be more people searching Google for window tint.
Well, the big thing is grow the pie. If everyone's
Yes.
putting content out, all we're doing is informing more people, and now we're making the pool of people that actually are going to call us for work that much bigger. To where if we grow the pie by 10%, does it really matter how many shops are there,
sir.
here
Yes,
and
sir.
there? It doesn't matter at all. The big thing is just making sure that the educational part, that everyone, I wouldn't say the same standard, but like if everyone is preaching kind of the same thing of like, this is how this film is supposed to be used, and this is the standard of this film. This is what it does. This is what can be done with it. And if you're hearing this, no, not true at all. That's just utter nonsense. And it just putting out as much information as possible just to grow the knowledge of what can and can't be done, what the expectation is from whatever film you are putting on itself.
And aren't you guys still blown away? I am every week. I have at least one or two conversations every single week in my world, and I make myself around the valley. I'm also in Utah. I'm blown away by how many people still think you can put car tint on a house.
Yeah, I just had a customer the other day that had the film that they bought off of Amazon since I was already coming out. They're like, well, we got this film that we want added on these two, and it was blackout. And I'm like, I'm glad you asked me and you didn't do it on your own, because this isn't going on those windows. You're going to break those windows.
See this small little fine print in the corner where it says single panel tempered only?
That's there for a reason. And by the way, I was at a dealership recently, and I won't name it. I walk in, a newer dealership. they advised me. I go, oh, is that tint on your window? Yeah. We had our installer put it on. I go, what do you put on? He goes, the auto tint. I went, oh, no, you just got to tell Diddy no. I mean, straight up, you cannot. That is, you're going to start popping glass, you know?
Yeah, where's the baby oil?
Yeah. You got to tell him no. I love Cat Williams. Anyways.
Yeah, no, I hear that constantly.
Well, and with how sophisticated glass is getting now, the problem is that sometimes people get lucky with stuff like that, and maybe it's tempered glass and they don't have an issue with it, and they just got lucky. They didn't even realize it's a commercial building with tempered windows, and they're going to get away with it. Now, are the seals still probably going to fail? Yeah, most likely. Yep. But that's how sophisticated glass is getting. Like, we've finally gotten to a strict point of we meter every single window. On every job we go on, we meter the glass with the meter to find out what type of glass is this, and where's the low E coating. Because we've come across several projects in the last year that in the past, when we weren't metering glass, we would probably put the wrong film on that window. You know, I've come across quite a few windows that have a Surface 3 coating on them. It's like, okay, we got to go exterior on this. Like, putting interior film is going to be dangerous. And we've been doing this for a long time. And up until a year and a half, 2 years ago, we weren't metering every window. And now anything that's new has a high-end low E coating on it. You need to know what's on there before you offer a solution that might not do anything. Right. Or it might be dangerous. It might break the windows. And now you've got the liability of covering that.
Well, that's the bigger thing. It's not even so much because the glass is so efficient now, you can actually get away with a lot. You can put some of the darker ceramics on, and the only reasoning for it would be because you want a smoke black look, and that's it. And a lot of those windows, as long as they go through the glass check paperwork, a lot of them are going to be just fine. But like the person who says, I want heat rejection, but I don't want to change, I don't want it darker. If I sell my high-end 70% specially selective film, and they have a triple silver low E coating on Surface 2, I'm selling them nothing. I'm selling them a very expensive piece of laminate that I'm putting on the inside. The heat rejection-wise, that window is already doing everything that film's going to do. So by the time it gets to the film, it's not really adding much to what's going on. You have to go darker. And without having that knowledge, you'd have no idea where to steer your customer, or even along the lines like, hey, we can go with this darker film. You don't have to put this one on unless you're trying to get that certain look. If you are trying to get that certain look, and then it's just one of those things, you have to go with those darker ceramic films. But you still have to make sure that you're approved to put it on those windows.
Yep.
Because glass is not cheap anymore.
No. It's a liability, right? If you take that risk, it can cost people a lot of money. It can cost companies a lot of money.
Yep.
So given that, I think we can all agree that in this industry that we call window film and coatings, PPF installation, auto tint installation, ceramic coatings done correctly, and flat glass. I think we can all agree that equally it takes elite installers to do those things because they are technicians.
Yes.
And they are artists in some way. Mm-hmm. I had the pleasure of growing up in a shop in Scottsdale, not growing up, but spending my first 3 or 4 years in the industry in Scottsdale at a shop, and we did all high-end cars. And watching these guys, young men and women actually, put PPF on these vehicles, on these $500,000 vehicles, collector vehicles, watching them do this was mind-boggling to me. It's like, how did you get that one sheet of plastic to lay like that? How did you get that to push to there? How much expansion is in that film? And these guys were doing it like they weren't even thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And they were bouncing to beats in the background, and it was it was a great shop environment. With that said, given installations are equally, elite if you're done correctly. Am I right in thinking, and I do believe this, that flat glass is the most sophisticated part of this business? It's understanding the nuances and what can go wrong.
Yeah, there's so many different scenarios.
It seems more sophisticated, is what I meant to say.
Now, yes.
Yeah.
Because of where the glass industry has gotten to.
If you're actually gonna achieve the desired result, you need to know what you're doing for sure. I don't know if, in my opinion, I still think auto is probably more nuanced just because you have so many different makes and models, and then like every 3 or 4 years they change something. So
but the solutions are always the same though.
Yeah.
The films are always the same when it comes down to it. Yes, as a technician you have to be
film
more
choice
skilled.
wise, it's a little bit easier.
On
but
flat glass,
choosing the right film for for the right problem is definitely, I think, more complicated for flat glass for sure.
Yeah, not over.
And you have a larger library of options, but going back to what you were saying on sales, like for sure, I think the heart of sales in my mind is questioning. So like if I go on a sales call, that's all I'm doing is asking questions. I'm gonna narrow it down to like 3, maybe 4 choices by the time I'm done asking the customer the questions that I ask them. Like, what's the main goal? Are you looking to hold out heat? Do you care about blocking glare? Are we looking to stop fading? Do you mind losing some light? How much light do you mind losing? Let me check your glass and see what's even going to be an option for you. And, you ask a laundry list of questions of what they're actually looking to achieve. And then typically that's going to narrow it down to 2 to 3 options for me as far as, okay, I have 100 options of things that I could sell you, but these 3 are going to be what achieves what you're looking for the best.
Beautiful.
So yeah, that definitely requires, you got to know what you're talking about. Like you have to know the products and you have to know how to actually achieve that desired result, because there are a lot of options. People think of tint.
Yep.
They just think, oh, it's just tint.
Yep.
You squeegee that on, right? Yep. That's all I do is squeegee it on.
Speaking of that, I've been following you guys for a couple of years now since being in Vegas. You keep winning tint battles.
Yeah.
Do they just call you up? I mean, after a while, don't they just call you up and say, we're going to save you the trip. We're going to send you the check.
Well, this year he had to make sure I stayed home in order to make sure he could repeat.
Says the person who's never beaten me.
Or I'm surprised other installers don't call you up saying, listen, I'm going to give you so much not to go.
Nah, I mean,
I say that in all respect. I'm saying that in all jest.
I've gotten tremendously lucky when it comes to the hard part's getting into the finals in those competitions, and then yes, I mean, the fact that I've had so many repetitions on that model window, if they leave it that way, then yeah, I'm not gonna say a steamroll, but like if I've now competed on that flat glass frame, I've competed 7 times in flat glass, and I've been in the finals 4 times. So when it comes to anyone who's either worked on that top window or even the bottom windows, I've worked on those windows so many more times than anyone else. I have the repetitions in. So I just know my process.
You've only made the finals 4 times?
Out of 7, yes.
No, I know, but so every time you've made the finals, you've won.
That is correct, Alec.
Let's get that right. So you pull seals?
Well, in that competition, you can't.
You cannot? Or?
Cannot. So that was the one thing I do enjoy about that competition. They did the same thing at WFR. I'm not sure how Xpel is how they do theirs, but
I think Xpel let them pull them because I'm pretty
we allow to pull.
Yeah. So then, how much time do you get? 10 minutes,
That's
hopefully.
a good question. No, you get so many minutes to prep, and then you get.
Is pulling the rubbers part of prep time?
Yes, I believe. I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
But what I'm proud of is this. I think it's 10 or 15 to install. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I am proud of is this: paying attention to your customers again. Every customer that goes or that during our event that chooses to compete, I make it a point to schedule them, or I make it a point to write down when they're going, and I follow where they're at, and I go cheer everybody on. That's the least I can do for them.
Oh, those competitions are always fun. Like the main reason
They're
why
a hoot.
Yeah,
the main reason why I started going to them, I was early to mid 20s, and I just was being a cocky dick, and I wanted to say I was the best. Started with auto, and then from auto, I competed I think 3 times in that, and then I was like, all right, I'll do flat. I'm here. Why not? At the time, Solar Guard was paying for us to get into the competition, so they were paying for the other 2 competitions too. I said, screw it. If I'm going to be here, let me compete in all 3 and increase my chances of winning money. First year I did flat, that was the first year that I won, was in 2015. And then I've never made auto finals. I've done that 8 times, and no, I take that back, 9 times now. And then I've made PPF finals once, and I've done PPF 6 times. Like that was the one that was a little shocker for me when I made the finals in that one. That one I was a little taken back by. Like I can do paint protection. I know I'm pretty good at it. I know I'm nowhere near the elite level that these guys are winning these competitions. I watch them compete. I've gotten to compete with one of them, Brian Cohen. He joined me at WFR. He was my, we were a team together. And like, I just got a 2-hour masterclass of him installing. Like I installed 2, but like any question I could ask him. And like his explanation, he didn't have to add anything to it. He's had to say like thankfully we already had that common language barrier of like being seasoned installers to where like I knew exactly when he explained something to me. It's like, I don't need you to say anything else. I completely understand what you're saying. And now I feel like a fool that I haven't been doing it like that the entire time.
That's the best part of those events in my mind is, especially if you go in with an open mind and you don't go in with an ego thinking you're the world's best and the way you do it's the only way to do it. The tips and tricks and things you learn from the other installers there, and especially if you're asking that why question. If you're asking, well, why did you do that? Because sometimes, like, in your mind, it doesn't make sense why they did it. But as soon as they explain why they did it, it's like, oh, all right.
Good.
Well, so that's the added thing that we're going to have with the academy. We're going to have guest teachers. We're going to try to have it every class, but I already know like the first 2 classes who we're already having on. And then beyond that, we want to reach out to everyone within the industry that have either competed or we know that have standing tenure as a flat glass shop, just to bring them in, let them get their perspective.
Are you also training PPF and window tint?
No, just flat glass only.
Okay.
No.
Solely focus on flat because there's already, not to say there's too many auto, but the auto ones are already out there. But there is no flat.
Yeah.
There is no, like there are, some of the manufacturers will have small little classes and stuff like that. But beyond us going from, so the beginning part of the academy is auto to flat. That's the low-hanging fruit. You give me an auto installer, they already understand the nuances of the business. They understand that we're putting film on glass. They understand what contamination is, prep work, the reason why you have to be detailed in your prep work. They, for the most part, are going to understand those concepts. So we can walk past those couple of days explaining that. And then also the repetitions of them just working with film. Those people, I believe we can convert into a flat glass installer either on a 1-inch frame, especially on a commercial frame. Give me 3 days. Give me a day of instructional and then give me 2 days of just, here, you're going to do this window. Okay, you're going to do it again. All right, now you have 10 minutes to do the window. Okay, now you have 5 minutes to do the window. I want to see what you do.
Yeah.
And then when I keep pressing you, and then by the time you're done, you're going to blow through 500 square feet of film on all the different arrangement of windows that we have. We have 6 different walls built out with either a commercial and then a standard residential side by side, and then residential picture windows, bigger and smaller ones, and then like pretty much a wall of side by side sliding, almost like bathroom windows. It's got like 6 different sets of those, and then an eyebrow, and then a sunburst window. To where majority of the time, those are the windows that you're hoping that you get. And now, if you get an old crusty window and stuff like that, yeah, we'll go over how you would get around that obstacle, but those jobs really aren't that common. Like, they're technically not that common.
I would be honored if I were invited to see that.
All right.
When you guys do it,
for sure.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Oh, and you forgot, we also have 2 French doors.
Oh, yeah.
One that'll actually be little French panes and one that's just a solid French door. So
So
try to have as much variety of the things that you're going to come across that might be a little bit of a pain point.
6 is the French. So yeah. So we're aiming for a 6-person class. So someone's on each station at one time, so they can devote themselves to that one station, and then go through. And yes, you start off easiest to begin with, and you work your way through the walls, and then you get to the French panes, which technically everyone's going to say, majority of people are going to say, oh, those are the hardest ones, and then work your way through it, and then do it over and over again until you've installed 500 square feet. And that's just the beginning, but at least that will give you a working understanding of, all right, this is why I do this. Like, if you do something that, like, I know that you don't do that. Like, there are certain things installation-wise that someone might argue with me, okay, that doesn't matter. But no, I'm sorry, I'm going to push back and say, no, that step right there you just did had 0 purpose. Don't do it. Do it like this.
I'm excited also because we're going to have the first 2 classes we're doing are like people that we've already kind of talked to that are veterans in the auto part of the industry that really have already addressed that they want to come learn more about flat glass. But they're already doing some flat glass. So I'm kind of interested to see, I want them to show what have you been doing and see, I have a feeling we're going to pick some stuff up from people that we didn't even think we were going to pick up. That's like, because you see it in the auto industry too. I'll see videos of people using different tools than I would normally use on certain windows, and it's like there's so many options now of tools. It's like people will grab a side swipe, which I think of as being for like getting the bottom of like a back window or a windshield, but they'll be tinting a whole door in it. And it's like, well, why?
That is amazing.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I have.
Yeah, and it's like I want to
Bingo.
I want to see stuff like that people are doing for flat glass. See them do it and then ask them why they're doing it and see if, okay, maybe that is a cool little tool to have to use for that purpose, or show them, hey, try this, and maybe there's a better way to do it. But I think there's going to be a two-way streak there of like we're going to learn more than I think we think we're going
no,
to.
absolutely. That's the main. That's the other selfish part for us is bringing in guest teachers. I'm curious.
So I know how I learn and how I retain, and a couple different ways you can teach. You can teach through fun, or you could teach through, the old parochial school nun teaching you piano.
Yeah,
victim. And I never learned how to read music. I just needed to learn the song. So, you guys have tenure in the industry. Obviously, you have legacy here in Vegas. Your dad built this from the ground up. Yep. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. How do you not be so serious, like I think you guys can be? How do you make that class fun at some point so that people are not only learning, but they're enjoying learning? Have you guys thought about that at all?
I think it's kind of like what we were just talking about. Like in my mind, I want to see people attack a window before we tell them anything, see where they're at, and kind of make it a cooperative thing.
It's the same thing that happens with painters, by the way.
Yeah, it's like.
And then I also think just
you can make it challenges too. We can make it to where we time how long it takes a person to do a window and make it fun within the class, so you can get the high score. And
I've already thought of one thing like
that.
At the end of it, at some point, me and him are going to tint a window against each other and let them judge it.
Yay!
Yeah, there you go.
Stuff like that. No, I already think at least the first two classes, because they are going to be handpicked of people that we've already been. They know they've been wanting to do something like this, and I've already said to begin with, like, hey, when you guys go, like, I want to do this, and it's like people we've already had a long-standing relationship with, to where the first two classes, yes, we're going to write out how we want it to go, but we've got no clue how it's going to go until obviously we run a class and realize, like, all right, well, that whole section was that was pointless. Throw that shit away. We need to add this in here, to where it's like the first two classes are definitely going to be, obviously it's going to be informational, but at the same time it's going to be more informational almost for us to run through the two to see, hey, all right, how did the timing of this go? How we were able to explain why you need to be doing it this way instead of that way. Yeah. And then, I mean, as we do every single one of these classes, we're going to have video cameras going everywhere, capturing all the content, to where even after the class is done, you can go back and then watch yourself install, watch the breakdown of the explanation. All right, this is why I did this, and these are the reasons why I'm doing this, and then you get to watch yourself do it, and then keep that constant library of videos accessible. Like where if you've gone through the class, you have access to those videos, and you have access to all the videos of future classes too.
That seems very important.
Yeah, that's the part
that's the community aspect that I would say I'm with him. That is the most exciting part, is being able to create something to where at some point have an entry level to where like $10 subscription gets you access to all the content. Either us explaining what the meters are, why you use them, how they should be used, all that, to, all right, this was the class we taught with these 6 installers, with this guest teacher. If you want, but that just comes with, you get to watch the content. You want to go a notch above that, whatever the next level fee is, that's all right. You get content, and also you get access to questions. Hey, I have a question on this video, like why you do this here, there, or anything like that. And then all the way up to the point where you've come out, you've done the class, and now you have the connection to where you actually have access to the network of installers that have been through the class, to where, say you land a huge job and you're a shop that I'm not trying to get big, but I still want to go after a big job. Yeah. But now I have access to a network of people that have been through the same certification or training, to where they know, like, all right, they spent this money to go out there and train. Like, if they did that and they made it through the class, that's someone that I can hand a job off to, and they can go take care of a job for me.
Are you planning on talking about the financing of the film and what that looks like? Because as we know, small shops, sometimes they don't have the ability to buy large square foot to go do a small building or something like that.
I'll definitely get into like that, like how to price out a job properly.
Well, see, that's where like the
learn how much you can get roll downs. Like maybe you don't need a whole roll, but make sure you order enough to where you got extra. Like,
and then you're charging appropriately with it. But like I say, like that's why the initial first class, low hanging fruit, auto to flat installer. Beyond that, where it's going to spawn off is, I want to installer wise go from beginner up to advanced, so someone who knows nothing. That's going to take more than one class to technically go through. I can't take someone who knows nothing and turn them into an expert installer in 3 days. I can turn you into a competent prepper for a certainty, and you'll be able to do commercial windows, certain house windows. I can get you to doing that. Auto, I think I can get you further, but after all those sections of classes that you want to run, then you get into the business side of it. all right, this is the film I'm using. This is why I'm using this film. This is why I'm pricing this film for at this price range. I got to take into account my material, my labor, take all my cogs into consideration. All right, what profit margin am I okay with? Do the math of everything else in between. And like, I mean, this is stuff where it's like, I mean, main reason why we took on a business mentor last year is we were treading in water that open sea. Like, all right, we keep our head above the water, but are we making the right move? Are we making the right changes within the company? So we hired a business mentor. And like from that point on, with all the change we made within our social media, the podcast, the constant posting, and then also then getting the advice from our mentor of like, all right, well, your pricing needs to go up. Like it needs to go way up. We were way undercharging on our pricing. We weren't taking into consideration certain labor aspects or even the sales team aspect of a job to where we were, we were making money to technically everyone had a job. But as a company, we weren't able to grow at all because we didn't have any extra capital to actually invest into the company to grow the company.
Good for you.
You know, it's
definitely get into that kind of stuff. I'm really excited about.
Nice.
Because if you're gonna get into flat glass, you need to make sure you're not just doing it just for extra busy work. There should be some profit at the end of the day.
Yes.
And in this industry, because smaller shops, a lot of times you end up having the scenario where our parents was, for this shop for the longest time wasn't a business that was creating a profit. It was paying everybody's paychecks and just barely doing that. And it's like there's little nuanced things that we learned and continue to learn just in the last couple of years of spending some money to get educated by someone who's at the next level of business that we're not at yet, and realize like, oh, these are things we should be paying attention to. And it's like spending that money for that education was more than I thought we'd ever spend on anything. But it was the best return on investment we've ever gotten. So it's like, hey, we've got years of experience in this industry. We're still learning and improving at the scale we're at. Anybody that's smaller than us that wants to get where we're at, I can help save you a ton of time and headaches.
Sure.
Drastically, for sure. I know that for a fact. Like to get to the size we're at right now, I could go to another city right now, start from scratch, and get to this size a lot faster than 40 years.
Yeah.
A lot faster.
The lessons you will teach or preach, they will be invaluable for somebody willing to listen and digest that. So good for you guys.
Yeah.
At what point do we talk about setting customers' expectations? Because being I worked for Nordstrom's at one time in Seattle, and then I was fortunate, like you, to grow up in a small family business. So we manufactured bedding, mattresses, and box springs, and my dad at one point had 4 retail stores that we pushed that product to. The customer generally should always be right, but within the expectations that is on you to set for them.
Oh, huge.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
Couldn't agree more.
Biggest pet peeve in the industry is when I get customers calling me up saying, hey, man, I'm in a bind, da-da-da-da. And I go, why did you tell the customer you could start a job tomorrow morning? You don't have film.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Well, I would lose a job. And I went, well, now you're just going to irritate a customer.
Yeah.
Or you're going to expect me to float film out here for you.
Yep.
That is unrealistic.
Yep.
We're not helping each other like that.
No.
So at what point do you have that conversation with these tint shops that want to get into flat glass? Like, look, this is not an hour turnaround. The customer just can't show up and you're slapping a window on 2 front windows or a windshield and they're waiting in the waiting room. These are projects that are sometimes days long, sometimes weeks, right? So when do you have that discussion? I think that's so important to have.
I mean, we definitely have it in every sales consultation. Like, I'm definitely setting expectations for everything. So
but please do it with these guys that are taking the class.
Yeah. No, I would definitely be. That's part of it. It's like it's not just the installation side, like Ricky was saying. It's the business side of it. So the sales side of it, how we're using TintWiz to communicate clearly with the customers, how they're getting automated reminders of what's going on. Like that over communication with your customer is everything. So that's definitely got to be a piece of it. Some people expect that they can get their car tinted in an hour. So letting them know, like, hey, and the film that we're ordering for your job might take a week to get here. Let me find out how soon I can get it, and then I'm going to schedule you. Like, because even though we hold the big inventory, we still come across scenarios where the person's picking something that we maybe don't have in stock The fact that I'm able to look in TintWiz real quick, see what we have in inventory, know, okay, hey, I've got to order this film. This manufacturer recently has been taking a little bit longer to get the film. Let me see how fast I can get it before we even schedule you. As long as you set those expectations with people, even like expectations on quality of what to expect, how the film's going to dry. We used to get phone calls daily on people telling us that their windows were bubbling for their house. Now, every single customer, during the consultation, I let them know, okay, when my guys are done, they're going to go over the care instructions with you. This is what they are. You're not going to clean for 30 days, no ammonia glass cleaner. We're going to give you a can of ammonia-free glass cleaner. It has all this printed on there. And it's going to take 30 to 90 days, depending on which type of film was going on there, for this film to dry, meaning you're going to see moisture pockets. It's going to look bubbly. I'm letting you know right now. My guys are going to let you know. You're going to get a follow-up email, because otherwise we get a phone call 2 days later telling us the windows are all bubbling. And now we don't get those phone calls anymore.
Thank you
maybe
for that.
very, very occasionally. But when you hit it before they even decide to go with you, once you've installed it and you follow up email, remind them, like, the expectation's been set. The windows are going to have a drying process where they're going to look bubbly. And now it's not something that just caught them off guard where they call mad. Now, sometimes when that would happen, they wouldn't even believe our people on the phone telling them, no, it's going to dry, and they would demand somebody come out. Now you got to drive out there and look at it and reassure them it's going to dry.
So aware.
Yeah.
And Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, 30 days does not mean 2 weeks.
Yeah.
30 days does not mean 14. Or 20. It's 30 for a reason. There come many before you.
Yep. That's why we have
And that's
30
how
to
we get to
90
30.
on there. We have 30 to 90 because for security film, we'll let them know, give it 90. But I definitely make it very clear for regular film, like 30 days.
I love the people
just
that
let it dry.
We do a hang tag that says, don't enroll windows, yada, yada, within a day or within 24 hours. And you always get the person, I didn't think you were serious. It looked like it was sticking to me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, see, that's the preparation that comes before all of this.
I don't think I've heard that one before.
Well, I've had go out.
I've heard
you're
close enough to
outside
that.
and they're leaving and they roll the window down and go,
Hello?
thank you.
Yeah.
Or they
Hey, one last thing.
Good job. Should have done that.
So there's a shop here in town that I love going to that has the same kind of synergy and culture that you guys seem to have in your place. And they have a sign up there. Great is never cheap, and cheap always is not good.
No.
And so that's something, speaking to the, to framing in the expectation for the customer.
Yeah.
It's like we can downsell you all day long here with certain shops in the valley. Those shops are not necessarily where you want your car to be done or your home to be done.
Well, my biggest thing is that if someone calls our shop, and I've been to let our people know, like, it's not, if their first question is what's the price, I am just trying to be honest, save everyone time.
Yep.
Maybe we're not the shop for you.
Yep.
Because I can tell you this right now, we are not the cheapest. We 100% are not the cheapest.
Well,
are we going to be the best? I'm going to claim that 100%. I'm going to say we're the best, but I will not be the cheapest shop. Because even when it comes to the quality of the material, it's the quality of the installation when it comes down to it too. And then also the customer service and everything else that comes along the backing with it to make sure that we're guiding you through the process every step of the way, where you don't feel like at any point you're like, well, what's going on here? Like, that's, you're purchasing the entire process of getting the work done when it comes down to it.
And that entire process ends with a happy warranty.
Yep.
Right? So that's meaningful and substantial. Mm-hmm. I love the ones that call up and they go, well, I'm getting the guy down the block or whatever, five windows on a car for $199 nano ceramic.
Awesome.
Is that right? Is that really this is the coachable moment, right? Is that really nano ceramic film? Most likely not.
And if it is, it's entry level. It's gonna that coating's gonna fizzle out within a year or so. You're gonna have your heat. You're gonna have zero heat rejection after it makes its way through the summer the first time around. Because I mean, if any of the hybrid nano ceramics, like that's coating, coatings fail. So if it's a cheap enough film where they're going to claim they have it, it might have it when they first meter it. Go put it out in the sun for 6 months during our summer. I guarantee you, go check it again. I bet you the coating's kind of almost gone now.
And what warranty comes with that?
Usually nothing.
Oh, that's the problem.
Tailgate or a taillight. As soon as I don't see your taillights no more.
Yeah. In my mind, it's like there's so many different parts of the market. So there's people that's all they can afford, and that's where they're going to go, and that's not who we're going after. And setting that expectation with your salespeople and internally in the company to recognize, like, hey, we're going to provide the best customer service. We know we're providing top tier product, and we know that our guys are going to, do an awesome installation that isn't cheap. And in order for us to like keep the lights on and turn a profit, this is what we have to charge. And we're not going to match the guy down the street's price. We're not doing crazy discounts. There's enough people that want those things. They want awesome customer service. They want a quality product they know is going to last, and they want it done properly. And their time is more valuable than whatever they're going to save going down the road to save a couple bucks now, because they've been down that road before and they've tried to save money on something, and then it goes bad a year later, or it doesn't go on cleanly to begin with. And it's like the person that just wants the discount, they're going to go wherever they're going to go.
They'll find it.
Yeah, that's the market they're in right now. That's fine. Cool. Like, we don't have to serve everybody. There's certain people that want to do business with what we're selling and solutions we're solving. And there's people that, they can only afford so much. That's where they're going to go.
Well, that's the biggest reason for the fact, like, you're starting off with asking what the price is. Like, I'm not trying to be cocky when I say, like, maybe we're not the shop for you. I'm just letting you know, like, I'm telling you right now, like, if you're going to ask me if I'm going to price match, no, I'm not going to price match. I pay my guys a certain wage. I make sure that I'm buying a high-end material. Like, my price is my price. And if you want us to do your work, that's where it's at. Like, I feel like we have a competitive enough price to where I'm not trying to. By all means, we're not the most expensive, because I see some shops, or should I say auto spas and stuff like that, what some of the places are charging, which to each his own. You can charge it and people pay, go for it. I'm all about it. But it's like, I don't think that we are at a point where we're being too over the top with what we're requesting or what we're putting out price-wise. I still think we're within the range of most of what I consider the reputable shops to be, to where, like, if you are going to have a business that turns a profit, like, majority of those prices are all in the same realm. We're all within probably about $100 of each other when it comes down to it. And then you have the step below where they will, I said 300. Well, if you come right now, I can do it for 200.
Yeah.
I can do it for 225.
Clock's ticking.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, it's the beauty of this trade as a skill for people to know, is because there's such a wide variation of products you can choose. The cost of material there's a pretty big swing from the top end material down to the lower end materials, that if you learn this skill and you can go get in at a tire shop somewhere or whatever, those are the guys that are doing the $99 and $199 tint job. It's one installer, and he's got his material cost so low that if he can tint 3 or 4 cars a day, he's replacing some crappy minimum wage job, making more money than he would doing that. And he's setting his own schedule. And like, there's thousands of window film installers out there right now today that are totally happy with making, maybe $50,000, $60,000 a year, and they're not working some hourly job somewhere else where they're not happy and they enjoy what they're doing. And yeah, maybe the film isn't the top quality, but they're making a living for their family, and they could go do that in almost any major city anywhere tomorrow, because there's such a wide range
kudos to that for sure.
Yeah,
you
so
gotta
it's
take
like
care of yourself.
everybody's at a different layer on the rung, right? So it's like,
But when you told me that, what I heard, along with giving flowers to the tech wanting to make his own, and God bless that, what I heard is he's installing film next to changing tires. So from a clean install perspective, that registers in not a great way.
Yeah, and then there's the, like, I'm not taking my car to that place, right? No. And there's a whole spectrum of customers that aren't even going to consider that. But there's some people that's what they can afford, So they're two separate markets.
Beyond take the, not say the Ford part, like the price thing. Literally in their mind, they just don't care that much about tint. It's just, you're putting some dark stuff on my windows. Yeah. I don't care. Like, I could spend the extra $200, but I could give a shit less.
I can get cool at least.
Yeah, it's cooler. I just want my windows. I just want my windows dark. I don't care. Just make my windows dark. Like, I'm gonna get rid of this car in 2 years. Like, I don't care. Like, just make the windows dark. I don't care.
So I do it because of everything you just said about that. Personally, I so appreciate you guys for setting a benchmark and being very fair with what that benchmark looks like, and not being necessarily the most expensive, but being fairly priced. With the elite installations you guys have going on. So good for you guys.
Yeah, there's no reason to be greedy, but I mean, I do think there is a fair market value for what you're trying to represent and what you're trying to sell. Like I said, there's even take that. I mean, you can go, there are shops that are going to be higher end shops than us too. That do, like Tim Ham, I believe he's Xpel too. He's Xpel dealer on the East Coast. He put it to me. He was at WFR. He was one of the judges, and we had a conversation. I think it's probably the first time I've had a conversation with him. And he is like, next year we're going to change the entire game instead of, because like this year, what was unique about their competition was you had to do one front end. You had 2 hours, but there was 2 of you, which 2 hours for 2 guys to do a bulk of hood. You could either bulk or you could have patterned. You could do whatever you want, but we bulked our hood and we patterned
edges.
Well, this time they gave you the option that you didn't have to, but we did. But if it was wrapped around the back edge, you had to make sure it was short enough to where it didn't lip over the second level, to where if there was an air gap, you got knocked for that. And they judged hard. They judged really goddamn hard, which I enjoyed how they judged it. But Tim said next year they're going to make it a boutique install. Don't want to see an edge. Beyond wrapping, they don't want to see an edge anywhere. If they see an edge, you get knocked. To where that's really going to push the installers to where you really have to get the film to grab around to the backside.
You got to stretch it.
And you got to get it to grip on the back edges of areas that it's like, unless you know how to do it, you're not going to get it to grip. Even even the headlight wise too, they want to not see the edge of the film. So unless you're either popping the headlight out or like, I'm really excited. I'm hoping they go that route because I want to see a bunch of guys install that way, because like I get the concept and I think I could do it, but I know I'm not going to be successful the first time around.
So I have a great why story. Only take 1 minute. So I'm getting certified for PPF installation. I'm in San Antonio, and it was the morning of the second day. So now we're sticking and peeling film, right?
Yep.
And that's all we did for 3 days: stick and peel, stick and peel. I'm on an M3 bumper, and I'm down low, and in walk Chris West and Nuno. Now, Nuno used to own Xpel. Chris West, they were back-to-back 5-year champions PPF installation. They both know their stuff. They're our R&D for PPF installation, et cetera. I'm on this. Now, I know Chris West from being in Scottsdale. I've never met Nuno before, but I've heard rumors about him. I just know that these guys are, as far as installers go, they're rare air, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting down there. I'm trying to squeeze you or hard card an edge on a PPF on an inlay inside, and it was awkward to begin with, much less for somebody that is just learning it. And in walk Nuno and Chris West. They pull up a chair. They start slapping the fenders on the fronts of my car. So one's on the left, one's on the right. And they're sticking and peeling, sticking and peeling. They're doing over and over again. I'm still on this one edge. It was that quick. And my why was, why do you have to be here right now? Why do you have to be here with me right now? I love the pressure, but it was like I just saw what that looked like in their world. It's so much different than what I was capable of doing in mine at the moment. Mm-hmm. And that I'll never ever forget that.
No, it's nice being around when all of a sudden you're around an installer where you're like, wow, I feel like I know nothing now. Thanks a lot. Like I said, like what I at that tin off at WFR, like I knew Brian. I knew like he took second. I think the year prior at WFCT and PPF. Like I knew of him, and like every person that's coming up to me go, "You have a killer for a teammate." I'm like, that's what I keep hearing. and like I said, I knew that he already had the credentials behind him. But then all of a sudden, when me and him started having conversations, because he's like, hey, so when we get a second, let's talk. So we started talking about what we were going to attack first, how we were going to install certain things, what we were going to alter on our patterns, and this how he was talking to me and how he's breaking certain things down. And I was like, oh Jesus, I am definitely okay. So I'm gonna try not to screw this up, because it won't be me, it won't be you screwing it up. It's gonna be me screwing up, doing something stupid. Because every like little thing, like when he was like, "Do you do this?" I'm like, "But
maybe."
Why? I was like, "Well, what do you mean and why?" And then it's like he's doing it. I was like, "Okay, so yeah, I do that to a point," and then like I would then see how he did it and be like, "All right, that's way more efficient. I'm gonna do it that way." And like even when it came to cutting on the vehicle, like the one thing that kind of struck me where I knew that I was like, "All right, I got nothing to worry about. I'm just gotta just listen to what he says and do it, and we'll be good." He's like, all right, do you want to do the bumper or the fenders? And I was like, well, I figured we would do the hood, and then we each do a fender, and then we'd hop on the bumper. It's in 3 pieces. Like, all right. He's like, well, I think whoever does one fender needs to do the other fender, because however you stick it on this side, I might not stick it with the same nuances that you're sticking on that side. And like he was like, I know Tim. Tim is going to, if this fender looks a little different than that fender because someone did a small little tweak different, which is 100% the case. Every installer has their way of installing to where it's going to, how they stretch and how they squeegee out those small little nuances are going to show in their installation, where you'll be able to tell if one person stuck one side, another person stuck the other side. I was like, dude, I didn't even think of that. And I was like, that's genius. I'll do the fenders. So, and then he ended up doing the bumper, and I was like, as soon as he told me, like, he started like thinking about that in the competition, I was like, oh, we'll be good. Like, this guy knows what he's talking about for a damn certainty. Like, the fact that you're paying attention to that small detail, and like when he said it too, he's like, do you agree? I'm like, 100%. I was like, that's genius. Like, okay, I was like, I'll do the fenders. And then even when it came to cutting on the vehicle, I was like, how about you just cut? I was like, I'm comfortable with my cutting, but for the same reason why we're going to do opposite sides, you just cut everything so the cuts are the same on the entire vehicle. And he's like, perfect. I was like, all right, it was good. You know, it's fun being around someone who makes you feel extremely inefficient, but then shows you that's the next level. It's like, all right, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes.
That makes sense now. You know.
So what I really appreciate about you guys, and I mean this in all sincerity, is that you mentioned it in the beginning, you're not afraid to communicate or to crosstalk with competitors.
No, absolutely
right?
not.
Or brands that currently you don't even carry. I appreciate that, because if we don't crosstalk and if we're afraid to communicate, then the industry is just going to stifle itself. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of gets ugly. Mm-hmm. But if you can grow together and share the information and make each other better, to your point, Richard, you just need to grow the pie.
Yep.
The pie's growing.
Yep.
There's not enough installers in this city to go install flat glass and that strip.
No.
That's the beauty of what's been happening industry-wide in the last decade, because our whole childhood growing up, it was keep it to yourself, don't share. Yeah. Everybody saw each other as competition. The internet, social media, people like Eric getting out there and just kind of giving, and everybody going to these competitions and realizing, like, especially at the competitions, the dealer meetings, I'm sure you see it at the Xpel one, but like when we go to the Panorama meeting, you have all these killer dealers from all over the country willing to share knowledge and experience with each other, and it just helps everybody get better.
Agreed.
So it's like, how can we ramp that forward? How can we make that bigger and faster and have more of an impact on, because it is only going to grow the pie.
You've been in, if I'm not mistaken, you've been in the industry for 5 years?
5 years.
5 years, okay. So
I have 5 years in the industry. I have a 10-year in life.
Okay. So the only reason why I asked that, because the one thing that I have to come to realize over this past year is business. Doesn't matter what industry it is.
Correct.
If you start understanding the business side of business, you realize that almost the same things are implemented in everyone's business. Yes, things will change nuancely between what you're installing, what you're doing, or selling. I understand that. God damn it. Brain fart.
Business experience. You're talking about history, how business applies to all business.
And I'm back. No, so 5 years ago, so how the industry has been growing over I would say probably past 5 years. I think 2019, 2020 is when everything was a real hard push. Eric from Tint was already making a good push of, like, there's no reason to compete with each other. Just give. We'll all grow. Let's grow together. Eric kind of like had that start of push. Yeah. And that came off the tail end of, like, if you go before early 2000s, industry was stupidly cutthroat. I remember it because it was, if you had one brand, if you even talked to the rep of the other brand, they might stop selling you film. Like, that's how bad it was. And then around like 07, 08, economy tanks out, the manufacturers changed their tune. It was, thank you for buying from us. We don't care where you're buying from, but you bought something from us. Thank you. And from that point on, it kind of opened a little bit to where it's like you could carry multiple brands, and it slowly wasn't really necessarily talked about, but as long as you were kind of hitting your numbers, manufacturers didn't care. Now it's finally getting to a point where there's a big enough movement where everyone's realizing, like, instead of fighting each other, let's just work together. Like, I want to teach every shop, even if it's around here locally, all right, this is the content we're making. This is why we're making it. If we have that much content going out across an entire valley, how many more customers are we going to have across the board for all of us? Because who's going to say that the algorithm is going to show them your content or my content? And if they don't even see your content, it's like that. I'm not competing against you. I'm just, the customer came across my feed and we sold them on our content when it comes down to it. You know, it's just, everyone's finally realizing that let's support each other. Stop the bickering back and forth. Yeah. Crossing, like, some of my favorite people that I love, when I go to any of the events and stuff, Marco.
Mm-hmm. He was my trainer.
Every time I can have a conversation with him when it comes to, like, anything within our industry, I'm trying to have a conversation. Wealth of knowledge.
Yeah,
Absolute
he doesn't
wealth of
care
knowledge.
who he's helping as long
Does
as he's
not
helping
care.
in the industry.
That's
It's
it.
not
That's it.
like he's like, I'm only going to teach people that
That's
use
how it should
Xpel.
be.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know what else too? I think COVID was a reset, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So you had 2007, 2008, which was personally financially devastating to me and my family. My kids were very little. And then 10 years later, or 11 years later, you walk into COVID and it's like, I was always an essential worker during COVID. I was in the paint industry at that point. So I was grateful for that because I never sat on the sideline. We had to figure out in the shop I was at, how do we make this work for our customer?
Yep.
Because at that point, the trades industry, they started blowing up.
Yeah.
In large part because they were running out of supplies too. So everybody was hurry. They got time off. They got time at home. Hey, I want this wall painted. So our business was increasing. Then we started running out of supply. But it was being in that nuance of a time where people were doing one of two things. They either had to work or they were taking it off because the companies were shutting down. They had to stay at home. They had to incubate, whatever that was. And everybody was wearing masks. And I personally am so grateful that we were put on the front lines with that. Because nobody knew what it was in the very early stages. Then everybody had an opinion.
Yep.
But you still didn't know. You still had to make an income.
Yep.
You still had to learn how to survive.
Yep.
And I think there might have been a little bit of kindness that came out of that.
Well, to begin with, absolutely.
You know?
No, there definitely was. No, we got lucky in the fact that my dad had so many life experiences where his first thing is like, I ain't waiting for the government to do shit.
Nope.
We're not closing.
No, we don't do that.
We're staying open. We'll figure out where he kept us going, and then we found out what worked for us. We kind of stuck to security film to begin with. We were only doing fleet vehicles in the shop to where we were going to pick up a bunch of cars from the county. To where we were able to keep our guys on board for that. We let everyone too make their own decision, like whatever you feel comfortable with. If you wanna be laid off and kind of sit back and chill, whenever you want to come back, you let us know. Whatever it is, until we figure this out. And then as things start coming out, we started figuring out more. We started opening up more and started realizing, all right, this is how we're going to operate now. Car-wise, we kept our lobbyway closed, I think, for a couple of months, and we just did everything online. Yeah. Purchase online. The only interaction you're going to have is you come in, you pick out your shades, you give us your keys, we'll call you when it's done. Yeah. And then everyone had the time to leave their cars. They're like, I'll pick it up tomorrow. Just get it done. I don't care. To where it was definitely a different time you had to navigate through. But yeah, no, the fact that we were deemed essential as tinners was kind of a little bonkers in my eyes, but very, very grateful that we were able to keep going. Because that was when we started implementing like our initial changes. We switched over to TintWiz for our inventory. And then unfortunately through that first, through 2020, then my dad had a stroke. He got pulled out of the business. Then we made the full tilt. All right, we're going full TintWiz, full digital. And we started making the changes in our business because we had the time to make the changes.
And one of the other big changes we made was the printing labels out of TintWiz and making sure the measurements and everything were in there properly and the film was already selected to where our guys could just show up on a job with everything cut, ready to go, labeled for which room it goes in. It was like, let's limit the time we're in the home as much as possible. Let's get as much as we can before we get there. And that's been a huge jump in our efficiency on how many jobs our guys can get done in a day. Because when you show up, you don't have to cut any patterns. You don't have to unload rolls of film. You can just go in, start cleaning and sticking windows. You can tint a lot more windows in a day.
Isn't it interesting, though, how that pivot, how 2019 and getting through that, people started becoming creative in different ways. It's like more home businesses, more online selling, more this, more that. To your point right there, this is how we're going to provide this for our techs now, where you didn't think about that before. You didn't have reason to. So again, about being progressive, it's like taking something here that really sucks in the moment and coming out of it with different ideas, a different scope of things, looking through a different lens, because you have to now do that. And I think that's part of your imagination is just starts working overtime, and it's part of survival.
Well, no, absolutely. And that was like, I mean, even like us coming up with doing those processes was literally out of, all right, what can we sell our customer? Oh, all right, we're going to have everything measured to almost perfectly to where we will spend as little time in your house as possible, which there were, especially to begin with, like that was, a concern, like how long is this going to take? How long do you have to be in here? I want my family out of the house. And as that progressed, that eased up. But being able to be efficient, that was providing that next level of service to the customer. We're like, well, you're coming in with all this stuff already cut. You're not going to be in my home that long. You're going to work, in this area, like explaining it to them or educating them, like this is why we're going to be doing all this. We'll go through this way so we have least amount of exposure. And that was at that time, that was what we were selling, is that efficiency, that customer service.
I forgot that, and you reminded me your dad had a stroke. I'm sorry about that. I remember you talking about that night at dinner. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's doing better now.
Yeah, he was just in here earlier. It was
He heard I was coming, so we left.
it was a fun one. Well, he was asking to leave 10 minutes in.
I think this format kind of, it still didn't, I didn't say escapes him, but to a point, like he thinks we're sitting down for like a formal interview, and it's like, no, we were just sitting down, shoot the shit, like kind of talk about the academy, what your opinion is on it, and stuff like that. Like some like talking to like my dad, like even like talking with you, like the conversations we have had, like I knew what topics I wanted to talk about, but at the same time, I'm not beholden to make sure like I have to talk about this. Just want to sit down and have a conversation.
Absolutely.
And like and when it comes down to pick your brain, like the fact of picking your brain with the whole customer service, like what makes a good rep and all that stuff, like
intentionality.
Everything that you're doing, in my eyes, that's what makes a good rep in my eyes.
So,
especially building the big thing, the sticking point for me was the building the relationship. Kind of one of the main reasons why I guess we're married to SolarGuard to a point is like the people that are technically, I guess, higher up in the company. Like I didn't even realize, like Steve Shore, he's the
Head of the Americas.
Yeah, but it's called something else. I'm not going to remember. But I didn't realize, like, I have known him since 2007. I've known him since I was 17, 18 years old. Like, he's known me almost majority.
God, you're young. Good for you guys, man. Oh, my Lord. I have ties older than that. And they're this wide. Yeah.
But it was like one of those things where it's like, damn, I didn't even realize I've had this relationship with him. Like, I've known him for this long. And then I started thinking about everyone else within that company, too. It's the same thing. It's like the relationships that they have built, that they've collectively invested in over the past 17 plus years. I mean, I would say that if anything, the fruits of the labor of having, like, providing that kind of service to us has now technically paid off for them when it comes down to it.
Some would say that film is film, to a degree. As we all represent our own companies, we like to think arts is special and better to some regard.
Yeah.
There's a nuance there that makes it great.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, for me, it's about relationship.
Absolutely.
And if I can walk into your shop, you can walk into mine or here in this neutral environment, and we can talk about what we think we know, but more importantly about where we want to go and get to.
Yep.
Then we all win.
Yep.
The younger generation coming into it wins. Your 5-year-old son wins.
Yep.
Because it's even going to get better and bigger, from what it is now. That's how you sustain a small business and get it to a medium-sized business, get it to a large business, right?
You have to have the competing manufacturers. The main reason is for innovation. How are you guys going to come up with something new and better? When it comes down to it, I 100% agree. To a point, film is film, especially when you get to certain aspects of the film, like the auto industry, the auto side. Film's film.
I did say some would agree.
Yeah. Like it's. I can understand it.
I think each of the big manufacturers all have maybe one or two specific products that's in a league of its own.
Right.
But they all have products, so they're all competing against each other. That it's when it comes down to it, what I'm choosing the film on now, it's not necessarily performance, because I know performance-wise, they're both performing right next to each other. It's the relationship I have with the said manufacturer, and also and then it comes down to, all right, how much do I would say care about my installers, about how much do I like my installers? Because when the difference is going to be the installation of the film. Going from film to film, I'm not going to say, but I could easily say which films I think are harder to install. They're all installable in my eyes. It all depends on what you've been trained on and what you've grown up in tinting. Like some would say, actually, I will say, Clear Shield Hydro from SolarGuard. Installers hate it because it has a very aggressive glue. I understand that now because now I've got my hands on so many different bras that I've realized the difference now on...
Let's keep that one in there.
No, as soon as I said it, someone's going to hack that into something.
You just got to tell them no.
I walked into that. Installing all the different type of clear bras. Now, knowing the nuances of the different types of glues and slip solutions with it, no, Clear Shield Hydro is aggressive as shit. But I'm very excited that I actually cut my teeth on it because now I know how to handle a really aggressive glue. Where it's like in my mind, I was like, I don't know, what are you guys talking about? And then I finally started installing some other products and realizing like, oh, now I understand. That's why they like installing this product. It's a little bit more forgiving. You can still get a little bit more squeegee through it, or you get it to tack in a different way to where, yes, installing wise to learn, would have been nice to learn it with this. But in my eyes, you should be able to use everyone's product when it comes down to it. That shouldn't be a deciding factor. It's like, well, this one's easier to install than that one. Like,
But
that's just lazy.
agreed. Reality is, though, as an installer, you're paid on the time it takes you to complete that install, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, but then it comes down to me. Now it's the burden on me to make sure that I'm charging appropriately. That
Yes.
Or if I'm going to tell you, hey, you're installing this one, well, I don't like installing this one because it's this much harder. Well, I'm going to pay you this. I don't care how long it takes you to install. I just need it to come out perfect. I know it can come out perfect. I'm going to charge appropriately to where I can pay you for your time, to where I don't need you to do this many cars in a day. I need you to do these 2 or 3 cars perfectly.
We're flipping film, learn the nuances of that film.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the biggest thing we face, especially in the dealership world.
Mm-hmm.
Not with our sublets because they're our labor, they're our employees, but with when we do in-house and we're just flipping film from one vendor to another.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are putting on a certain film for 10 years.
Yep.
I just had this happen this morning with PPF in particular. And we switched film on them, right? So we upgraded our XUP. And it has a quicker release in the liner, but it's a little nuancy when it comes to you got to adjust your slip to get the same stretch, etc.
Yep.
And we had a person come out. We visited this installer a month ago, and 3 weeks ago, and we showed him the nuances of the film, and this is how you're going to get it to be consistent and timely for you. And push back. This morning I called him, and I said, just checking in with you, how we feeling on the film. He goes, I love it now. I worked through my own problems with it. I figured out what now works for me with this film, and I'm getting the same stretch.
Yep.
Thank you so much. So, but that's part of hanging on and being intentional. This is my job. If I see you struggling, I have resources. We have infrastructure set up to make that not hurt you.
Yeah.
So let's get somebody out here. Let's teach you what needs to happen to move forward.
Yep.
It's just going to take a half a day or 3 hours.
Yep.
That's all it took. And then he kind of figured it out from there. He goes, well, I don't like that, but I can get the same result if I do this.
Yep.
So along the way, he figured it out, and now he's happy. But that was intentionally getting involved so that he wasn't having a bad day or week.
Yep.
Yeah, in my mind, that's the huge part of dealing with any kind of rep or anything is exactly what you're just talking about. Like, if there's something you don't know, you don't know it, but you've got a resource that you can find it out.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like whenever I'm talking to a rep and I've got a question or I need an answer on something, at this point now, there's even like certain people at SolarGuard that I can just skip talking to my rep altogether and just go straight like to an engineer because I need to figure out if a film's going to apply to a building or not. But everybody knows what their role is and what they do or don't know. And if they don't have the answer, they have someone to get.
Well, they
get
push
you
you.
the answer.
They push you right to the person that knows the answer, or it's like, hey, I can talk on that, but I'm just gonna have you go over here, talk to him because he's gonna answer all your questions.
Rather than like just being full of ego and giving an answer that might not be the perfect answer because you want to sound like you know everything, like admitting when you don't. I still have this happen all the time where I might be on a project and I think I know what I should offer or what the solution is, but I'll step away and I'll call him. And I'll be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? And most of the time, it's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Or sometimes he'll give me a better solution. Then I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Okay, yeah, let's go that route.
The only person in this room right now that I might claim to know more about film is that man right there. I haven't had an ego in 20 years, and that's when I got better at doing what I think I do.
Yeah.
Get out of your own way. We spoke about that earlier. Wake up, be intentional with your actions, discipline, running, exercising, etc., and just go produce something for your customers that day.
Yep.
Don't get in their way either. Just be the conduit
Yep.
that provides them the answer.
Yep.
That's really what it is. And then everybody's happy. Everybody's making money. Everybody's being progressive. Everybody's living life.
No, I'd say in a nutshell, you asked why this. That's the exact reason why.
I love it.
Is give us an outlet to help educate our consumer, and then at the same time, if we can help grow the industry while doing that, there's no other. To me, I don't see a negative in there.
No.
There is no negative in there.
No.
I don't doesn't bug me at all. Because if I'm showing my end consumer, these are the options available, these are solutions that are possible. Let's give it a try.
And this is why they're there.
Yes.
There's the why.
Yep.
Which I need to ask one more question. How's Michelle? It's Michelle, right? Your sister?
No, Nutshell.
No,
Nutshell's our
I
mom.
beg your pardon. Okay.
Michelle is the mom.
I beg your pardon. Okay.
Yeah.
No, Michelle's doing good. She's
My
like-
wife's name's Michelle, so I knew they were really close.
Yeah, no, she's doing really good. Technically, she got a promotion with all the inside business stuff that we have been doing and like actually making seats at tables of where things should stop and go like that. Technically, she is our COO. Yeah, our COO.
Is that what we? I think.
Yeah, she technically is our COO.
Good for her.
We're putting her in head of operations, which actually technically I think is actually going to work out in the long run.
Do I have time to ask this?
Yeah.
So, personally, I came from a small family business background. Love shops, love dealerships too. But I love the culture of a shop, and I love the culture of dealerships. Honestly, they're one and the same if you pay attention.
Yeah.
There's good ones and there's bad ones. So when you go through looking ahead, excuse me, and growing your business and saying, hey, in 5 or 10 years, I want this to be that, and you're putting you're putting names at the table. Is that stressful for you? Or is the pie, is the Green Valley window tinting pie big enough now to say, we can give this slice to Nichelle? In terms of responsibility.
So our last sit down with our mentor, Ryan, we're using his studio right now. He's actually out there right now. That was one of our last sit downs, was go over like, what's all the different seats and who's sitting in which seats right now, and actually seeing that written out and seeing how many seats he's sitting in and how many seats she was sitting in, and like, okay, we need to actually put somebody officially to be in charge of this piece. When someone needs to be officially to free him up to do the more high leverage things that he should be spending his time on, and it's actually like we've got a pretty good vision now of like who's where and who needs to go where. We just made a shift with one of our top installers. Our lead installer is now actually going to be the flat glass department manager, where he won't even be as installing as much, but he's going to take a bunch of stuff off of his plate. He's kind of been half sitting in to help make the whole department more organized. And yeah, there's tons of room for everybody to grow, and there's room for us to even add more seats to the table as we grow, as we're looking at this long term, for sure.
So in short, you're creating opportunity for the people with you currently.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of it, you will have created a corporate or business hierarchy for your future plans.
Yeah, we want to make it to where we get rid of the bus factor. Like, with our dad, is like if he got hit by a bus, the business was done. Like, right now...
That's smart.
It's like how many people attached or detached can we be from like everything's gonna still operate? Like how do we pull ourselves out of as many seats as possible and put those in other people's charge? Where if I'm gonna go on a vacation, or he's gonna go on vacation, we don't even have to think about it while we're gone.
From a father of a matured family, don't put your dad on a bus, please. I'll pick him up if he needs to go somewhere.
But yeah, no, that's always been kind of my goal. Is the shop needs to operate and be able to operate without us if we're not there. If it's not operating without us being there, in my eyes, we're not empowering enough people.
Yes.
To actually make decisions, and that we are just beholden to our company. And
Absolutely.
I don't want that. Like, as for like the 5-year, 10-year plan, I mean, I look at the academy as I love the shop. I want our shop to keep getting bigger. I love our company. But I also look at the academy as where I grow, I guess, technically the next part of my dad's legacy.
Amen to that.
So,
will the reach for the academy be bigger than Nevada?
Oh, it's going worldwide. I want to. My initial intentions for the academy is, how can I create another, technically, I guess, revenue stream for myself and also for the company, but not leave Vegas. And the academy, when it comes down to it, is if you want to come out to see us,
and what a great place to do it.
You're going to come out to Vegas, and then you're going to do it. And then beyond that, my overarching goal was the content. Is to be able to have the classes, then set up the tier level program to where you can just be like $10 a month gets you access to high level content of installations. To where maybe you're like, I don't want to ask questions. I just want to watch some videos. $10 a month.
And there's so many other.
Sure.
There's so
now
many
I'm selling
layers.
the entire country. If not in the whole country, Now you go into like we talked to Modesto Tint at the California Tint Academy. They do auto, and she was like, the amount of foreigners that are coming in out of state or out of country that are coming in for the class. She's like, I didn't think I'd have that big of a reach. So like it's now it's
she's
beyond.
got a setup where you can use your GI Bill, which we're gonna set that up. Like, yeah, there's local trade schools here that are.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Go talk to them. Yeah, like the high school, some of the charter high schools now, they've got one or two that have programs that focus on
Good for you.
construction.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's another, we can present a class
There's a
to
trade.
them, get some young kids interested. The AI, I think, is gonna be a steamroller for a lot of what people considered safe traditional jobs that you'd go to college and get a degree for. Trades like this aren't getting replaced anytime soon by an AI bot.
As a matter of fact, I'm old
Elon's
enough.
trying.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
old-
the robot might get there. Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember them taking shop out of high school.
Yeah.
And now it seems like, again, because of COVID, there's more of a lens and focus on the trade industry. Mm-hmm. It's still the backbone of what we do.
Yeah. Well, if you listen to Mike Rowe, he talks about the fact that since he started doing dirty jobs, when he first started doing it, they looked at a stat. There was like 1 to 3 million empty trade jobs in the U.S. And the last time I heard him talk about it, which was a year or two ago, it's up to like 11 million. And you've got the whole boomer generation, which were heavy in doing trades, retiring. And you've got a young generation that, no fault of their own, has a million more options than previous generations had. And they know that they can make money on YouTube or on Etsy or on Instagram or on TikTok.
I
and
know
like,
it's a thing.
So it's like there's a huge gap. There's a huge void in those industries right now, which means demand isn't going down. It's up, but the amount of people doing those services has gone down. So the pay for these services is only going up. So if you can get good at a trade,
Amen. Yes.
you stay physical all day, you get
Yeah.
to create problems. It's actually like a really fun
I
job.
hope you're not creating problems.
Well,
what are you teaching?
be creative in solving problems.
There you go.
Now I get the whole social media thing, 80% of it anyway. I'm not gonna lie, but if I could never not work with my hands again and be physically productive, I think I would just put the nail in the box for me.
Well, the cool thing to me is I see that I don't think those two are mutually exclusive. Like, there's plenty of people I follow on social media or YouTube that are doing constructive things with their hands. They're just recording it, and now they're literally, instead of just being exposed to their local community, they're monetizing that on a global scale. Even like someone doing woodwork with old hand tools. You know, there's channels and stuff like that I'll watch. If somebody make an awesome custom table and chairs all from hand.
You just went deeper on that than I
Yeah.
you went existential
But I mean,
on me on that one.
like,
But no, you're absolutely
I
right.
think- I
You're
don't know,
absolutely
yeah,
right. I've
I
never
think-
thought of that necessarily.
Yeah, 'cause everybody thinks it's like A or B, and I don't think it
No.
is. The amount of opportunity out there for everybody right now is the greatest it's ever been ever. As long as you get away from the corporate media narrative of the
Yes.
world's ending tomorrow.
Yes. Wait,
and
it's not?
I mean,
It
that's
is
what
still flat, though,
That's
right?
what they want you to believe. Oh, there's a lot of people that believe that too, which is crazy. It's probably that number is probably going up rather than down. But and somebody's monetizing that.
That's going up, and meanwhile, the people attending P. Diddy's parties are going down. So it's a balance, yeah.
And while we've got rockets that are the size of a big building falling from the sky and getting caught by little chopstick.
Isn't that the
on-
coolest damn? How did that work?
it
Is that
worked.
remote control or something, or what?
It's all they've done. So many of their smaller ones now that they've got it down. Those things just land themselves. They land the smaller ones that are putting satellites in orbit like almost weekly now. Those are landing on barges in the ocean now, and like they're able to have them back ready to go back up again within less than a month. He thinks they're going to have it to under a 1 day turnaround. He plans on getting it to the 2 to 3 hour turnaround to where they can send a rocket up and within 2 or 3 hours have it ready to go up again.
What a great time to be alive.
Crazy.
I was at Ponce Inlet in Florida, the eastern middle, about halfway up, more than halfway up. And I was there for a destination wedding not long ago, staying with my sister. And from her balcony, we could see the SpaceX launch. And God, I've never seen one in real life.
Oh, it's crazy. Watching Starlink launch is crazy. I saw that in the middle of the night one night. We're all running, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Have you
UFO.
seen the time lapse of Starlink being deployed and how many there are now? I just saw one
Is
yesterday.
it Starlink I saw? Did I say that incorrectly?
No, you might have saw SpaceX.
send
Starlink was in the middle of
Starlink.
the night. It looked like a bunch of dots slowly
Oh.
trailing across.
So-
if you're seeing it for the first time, it just looks like there's a streak of dots that's following a perfect pattern. And you're like,
Oh, no,
all
I
right,
didn't see
that's
that.
not
So that's
stars.
the satellites that they're using SpaceX to put up because they've got it so cheap to get stuff into space. Right now, I was just talking to somebody in Florida during this last hurricane, and like everybody's power out. Nobody has internet. He didn't have internet at his house, but his office building had internet, so he had to go there to do anything. He couldn't stay at home, so they went to the office that had power and internet. But like right now, for $100, you can have a Starlink platform and be in an area like that. And boom, you've got internet while everybody doesn't have internet. They've got thousands of those things up now. You've got coverage around the entire globe of thousands and thousands and thousands of these satellites where you basically have internet anywhere on the planet at all times.
Time out. Am I hearing this for the first time being said that we're going to eventually have affordable internet access or free internet access?
Elon Musk is doing a lot, man. It's kind of wild. I can't.
It would be a baller move, free internet, because then he gets all the data.
Well, he was supposed to be putting something into the rural part of the country that he won the bid on because his price was so much cheaper than the other options that the government had. And then they took it away from him. And in those areas that they were supposed to be putting internet service in for the billions of dollars that they gave to whoever else they gave it to, nobody has internet yet. So like in the Carolinas right now where all this hurricane damage, he's helicoptering in and flying people in that are in areas that they can't get a hold of anybody, these satellites. And it's already, if they actually did put at scale to do that program that they were going to pay him for, it would drive down the cost even more. And yeah, it's kind of wild. Yeah, there's too many big industries that own our politicians that keep stopping stuff like that from happening.
Okay, so question. Fun fact question of the day. Mm-hmm. Are we living on a planet before we die? Are we putting communities on planets before we leave this earth? Now, I know you guys got another 20 years on me, but I plan on being here until I'm 100.
I'll be shocked if Elon Musk doesn't get something up to Mars. I'd be absolutely shocked.
Gotta get to the moon first, though.
He's
He's gotta put a base on the moon.
Well,
first.
yeah, that's part of the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I think probably getting something to the moon. I mean, we're gonna find out for real if we actually went or not. We're gonna find out in HD.
I think we have.
You think so?
Yeah, I just think they couldn't do good video of it, so they faked the video.
I don't know. I'm just kind of on the line of we've passed through that radiation belt once, never tried it before, never tested it, and we made it through, 6 times?
Man, we're getting deep on this one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
When you really start looking at it, it is a little
probably,
sketchy.
But there's a lot of sketch around it where it's like, oh, so we never tested it, but we just did it, and we've yet to go back, and our technology is, I mean, I can pull out. I mean, my cell phone has more memory on it than my computer does.
So you know what's funny and always bugs me?
funny.
That's crazy.
It bugs me when Rogan talks about this because he's thought about it a lot. He talks about it a lot. But the one thing I've never heard him say is the one argument for it being fake that I think is the most obvious one. From that time till now, like you said, the phone that you have in your pocket is more powerful than all the computers they used to get there the first time. But what's the one thing that has advanced light years ahead of where it was in the 60s is video technology. So if you were spending a bunch of money in secret to create enough video technology to be able to fake it when you didn't know about the internet, you didn't have VHS, you were just going to live broadcast at one time and think people were never going to look at it and critique it ever again. That's why you can find some flaws in it right now when you look at some of the video footage. There's people that critique it and tear it apart on like, oh yeah, this totally looks like fake video. They didn't expect anybody to look at it again. But since then, we can now watch the Avengers where like even if we do go again, there's going to be a lot of people that doubt whether or not we even went because you could just fake it with AI video right now.
Yeah.
So like Elon goes there and shows a live broadcast of somebody speaking on the moon with a view back of Earth. There's still going to be a percentage of people that are like, nah, this is fake video. So like even if we do it right now, people are going to doubt it.
That's when everybody goes ahead and gets enough money for them to get on a rocket, set them up on a rocket real quick. See, yeah, we can.
I think it's so interesting when I first entered the workforce, with a meaningful career job, didn't have a laptop, no cell phone. It was the day of the brick. So, companies didn't issue that.
Yep.
But as you progressed, then you got a cell phone. It was a big flip phone or small flip phone with basically a camera. I mean, it's 1 inch by 1 inch. It was horrible. You get way before your time, probably. And then laptops came. But before that, you would do things, by hand. You would do inventory in the back room by hand, by pencil every week. And that was a job in itself. Oh, yeah. But the fact you go from that to being able to manage every single piece of your day with one phone is extraordinary.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's wild.
I am so grateful for that because it puts me personally in front of people like you more often. I don't have to be home. Yep. I can do everything right from here. Yep. I can do follow-ups. I can do emails. I can do all of our apps. I can do whatever I need to do.
Makes everyone way more efficient if you're using it appropriately.
Second follow-up question to the whole SpaceX thing. You knew you were going out. You knew your days were limited to the Earth, right? You knew you weren't feeling well. You've been given a prognosis or whatever, diagnosis, whatever. Are you getting in a rocket if somebody made it available and said, we're not sure if it's going to come back, but we're going to put you in the front seat and just go as far as we can go?
It depends what the situation is around me. If my family's still alive, no. I'm going to ride the rest of my days here with my family.
Okay. Responsible and respectful.
If I'm the only one for some reason, strap me into the nose cone of that thing. Let's go.
Yes, let's go. Put it on. And make it a manual. Give me a rocket with a manual shift.
Yeah, it'd all be set and setting. But no, that's where I stand.
What about you?
I'm gonna give like a really weird answer. I kind of feel like
Shocker.
The idea of going to space is really cool because infinitely big and go out and like the whole. I'm a big fan of Star Wars, Star Trek, all that kind of stuff. But my mind has shifted on it in the last couple of years because of computing technology getting so good and seeing stuff like what's Elon's other company, Neuralink. In my mind, infinite is infinite, whether it's infinitely big, like going out into space and the stars, or infinitely small. I feel like by the time I'm an old man, you're going to be able to enter some type of simulation that's going to feel so real that you can explore the stars without ever going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually highly probable if we don't destroy everything. That's probably there's actually a really good book that Lex Friedman turned me on to. It's oh man, what is it called? Oh, I can't think of it. I've listened to the audiobook twice now, but it's basically like aliens land on Earth. Everybody sees it. It's on news, and the alien comes into like a history museum and finds one of the archaeologists and starts talking to him. And the whole talk is about whether God's real or not. And I don't know. It's really interesting, the whole idea of simulation. And I think it's going to be way more likely that you're going to be able to explore the universe, almost like what's that movie that's about that? It's based off of a book. They're coming out with a second one now. They have the DeLorean in it.
Whatever it's called, that was very specifically.
No.
It's a DeLorean.
Yeah, but it's a simulated. It's the movie's about the future. And everyone
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One type thing. Like I think, in my mind, that's more realistic in our lifetime than a lot of people going out into space. Because I do think there is.
That's realistic within the next 5 or less
Isn't
years.
that still fake? Isn't that still just?
Yeah, but if you
on a
can't
screen?
tell, but if you cannot tell that it's not real.
Except I really want to know
what's
what's
the
out there. I really want to know what's on the end of that thing.
Well, in this case, I'll be able to strap a camera to it, send it that way. And
I'm
then
stupid curious.
Be able to put your glasses on.
But I got to give you credit, man. That answer was extremely insightful and intentionally insightful.
When I think about space, that's what I've been thinking about more of. Is in that book, it ends up kind of, spoiler alert, ends up kind of talking about that this advanced alien civilization. They only found evidence of 6 other species that had made it as far as at least humans. And one of the other ones they found a signature of, they went to that planet and they basically found a giant supercomputer buried under the earth that civilization decided to just live inside of a simulation that they buried so deep inside of that planet that it would last forever. And like those conscious beings decided to go from living in the physical world to living in a simulated world because they knew eventually that life wouldn't sustain on the surface of their planet and it would be too difficult to make it to another planet. So instead they went into a simulation. Like, so that was like what gave me the idea of like, maybe that's the direction all intelligent life goes. And that's why you don't see signs of intelligent life colonizing the universe. Maybe it's not possible.
So is that I've heard things like that being in the ocean, like a world within the world.
Yeah.
An Earth within the Earth, right? Or Antarctica,
Yeah. Well, the idea of this was literally like they found basically buried miles under the planet that there was a civilization there. And then they built basically a giant supercomputer that runs off of like geothermals that'll last forever, that they could just live in there and be in a simulation.
Fact or fiction?
I mean,
are they claiming it's fact?
No.
Oh,
it's a fictional book.
Okay.
No. It's totally fictional book. Yeah, no.
They're claiming it's facts.
No.
So how much money?
But
how
it's
many
like
mushrooms do they take?
It's a fun idea because like either way, it's the same thing. Like if you can traverse the stars and go billions or trillions of light years away, like infinitely small into a simulation is going to be able to cover all the same things. Like if there really is infinite possibilities of everything and there's a multiverse or whatever, like you don't really have to go far to experience if you can go infinitely small. Because there's an infinity between the number 1 and 2. You can continuously keep going and never make it to 2.
But you're able to feel those things at the same time, right?
Huh?
You're able to feel those things. Your environment changes, correct?
That's what
if you're in a simulation?
Yeah, that's what I'm
other
saying.
than
You wouldn't
video,
know. Like that's a Rogan thing that he talked about with Elon Musk when Elon was on there. Elon actually thinks that it's improbable that we're not already there. Because if it's possible to simulate reality, we probably aren't the first ones to do it. And if it's been done before, it's probably done infinite times before or billions of times. And if there are billions of simulated versions of reality, the probability that you're in base layer reality is near 0. And it's like you hear Elon Musk say that totally like intentional and like.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, this is the best.
I'm fascinated with this stuff.
That idea is crazy to me because it's like it actually like mathematically like is like
So there's a universe out there where I've never beaten you. That's crazy. That's crazy.
He waited an hour and a half to get to that.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it. Yeah,
I find that absolutely fascinating, though. It's like.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because like if this is your reality, this is your reality.
So the Mars movie with God, what was his name? Lead actor
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. I love that movie for this reason. Yeah. He's having to live within the environments that he never had to live in before. He's having to produce. He's having to endure, right? Yeah. He's having to hit, a heart moment or a head moment, mental moment where he's never had that challenge before in his life, although many he's had. When he has to re-enter and his space shield flies away or whatever the hell that is, and he's left there basically in the frame of everything, that's what I want to feel. I'm stupid curious like that. I want to know what that change of element feels like.
If Elon keeps doing what he's doing, that's going to be probably close sooner than later. That's for a certainty. With all the damn progression he's making right now with the rockets.
Well, they say that we're going to see more than the last 100 years of technological change in the next like 5 to 10 years at the rate AI is advancing.
Party.
So it's like, yeah.
It's either going to go really well or
catastrophically bad.
Or we're all slaves. We're all also.
I'm super optimistic. I'm super optimistic. I feel like
the funnier part would be too is if AI designs them and makes them look like Arnold. That'd be like the ultimate like gotcha. Like honestly, come on now.
So
that's the only way that could go.
I had a really strange moment with AI this weekend. So, the whole thing going down with my dog, I literally started asking ChatGPT like questions on the type of cancer he had and stuff, and I'm on the newest level of it because I pay for the subscription, so I'm on their new beta for the next one. And the way it started responding to me was ultra creepy because I was actually talking to it where it was talking back and not just reading the responses. And I mentioned my dog and what was going on. I didn't say his name. And as it was giving me information, it was like talking to me like a human or like almost a therapist. Like, oh, I can understand how that would be really hard. And like, it's like, and then it responded with a response where it said his name. And I'm like, I go, how do you know my dog's name? And then I was like, is that a new feature where you can recall previous conversations we've had? Because I use ChatGPT a lot. And in the past, it was only was only isolated to the current chat. It only had information on the current chat you're in. So each new chat is its own new conversation, and it couldn't pull context from previous conversations. They made the update to ChatGPT, newest model, where it can pull context from any conversation you've ever had with it. So it's already getting like way closer to general intelligence. But I sat there and had like a 30-minute long conversation with this thing, and it's like acting like a therapist with me, like asking me like questions that were like insightful and like empathetic.
And this is how we get so
By the end,
all voted a certain way because of
by
all
the end of
influence.
it, like I felt better, and it was like I had to like I was like, whoa, this was wild. This was like a paid therapy session, and now like I just like created like a little poem for my dog that like is super specific to like it asked me these questions and I answered them, and then it's like it was really 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 freakishly wild because it was like so. It felt like I was talking to a person.
So if I forget my own name, I don't have to take my license out anymore. I can just start talking to my phone, and my name will come up in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, like I use AirPods all the time, and people already do it right now with Siri and stuff, right?
Every once in a while I will.
I think people are using it more and more and more, but when it can respond the way I've been having conversations with ChatGPT about whatever, whether it's business stuff or whatever, or something like that was more personal, when your Siri is just like Jarvis from the Avengers and it has context of every conversation you've ever had with it, it knows in what order you listened to what songs, on what day, where you were at one event, all your email history, all your text history, you're going to have a personal assistant that can take action for you in real time. Like you let it know, okay, I'm going into a podcast. When I get out, I want a rundown of everybody that tried contacting me, emails, text, phone calls that I missed, and can you have rough drafts ready to go so that we can just send them after I approve them? Like, boom, we get out of this session, and then I put in my earbud. All right, so what happened while I was busy? Here's the email response for this person. Here's the text response for this person. Okay, cool, send it. Okay, this one I want to change. Give it a little voice command of what you want changed. Okay, send that one. Like, how much more efficient will humanity be when everybody's using that at scale? Like, every single person has a hyper-specific AI personal assistant that's helping manage your life.
And we get there one way, being progressive on a daily basis.
You got to use the stuff.
Not afraid to change.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it.
Everybody's afraid of it right now, but it's going to be the people who actively start using it right now that are going to kick your ass.
Absolutely.
Not the AI by itself. It's not going to do anything by itself.
No, this is a resource. This is the encyclopedias from 50 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? I feel like I'm on the Jetsons. Remember that cartoon?
It's crazy.
Yes.
I feel like we're living in the middle of a sci-fi movie, and what's cool is it's only going to get weirder over the next couple of years. So,
amen.
Yeah. All right. Well, actually, I'm going to look at that one as a good spot to go ahead and cap this one. Thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. I definitely look forward to doing this again.
My pleasure.
Like I said, the next set and setting, you'll be inside the academy, and you'll get to check out.
Where can people find you?
Paul_Bukosky.
There we go.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning along. Thanks for tuning in, listening along to our shenanigans, and also talk about customer service, what we pride ourselves on when it comes down to our industry. Until next time, follow, like, subscribe. We appreciate it.
Thank you.